Hey guys, happy Thursday. I hope everything is going well. As always, you guys have about 10 minutes to complete your warm up for today. And today I figured I'd make it a little bit fun. So my question for you is, who is your current, oh, it should say favorite artist at the moment? Please convince me to check them out. Okay, so you might want to be using some, I don't know, repetition, some restatements, but convince me about your favorite artist, and then please try to pick someone who's actually good and not super explicit. Y'all know how much I don't like SoundCloud artists. So try to pick someone good. But okay, so today and tomorrow, your assignment is going to be to take some notes, and then after your notes, well, your notes are going to help you with the actual assignment after that, because you're going to be doing some process writing, and I'll explain that after the notes. But go ahead and turn to the back of your notebook. I think some of us might be on page 75, maybe 74, and your title for those are going to be Quote It. Okay, so quote it. And I'm basically going to be teaching you how to put quotations into your writing. Okay, so I will be looking for quotes in your process writing, which is AKA an essay if you didn't already catch on. But we have already been looking for quotes this whole like week and a half, so you're halfway there, but I want to see them done correctly. Okay, so here we go. So a quote, we're going to skip this one. A quote is it's short for quotation, okay? And it is a group of words from a text and that is used and repeated by someone other than the original author. Okay? So essentially it's plagiarism, but because you're quoting it, then it's not plagiarism. Okay? So if I'm going too fast, just pause and take notes and then keep going, okay? Okay, so when you quote something, it's important to include quotations in your informational essays, in your argument essays and compositions, persuasive essays, literary response and analysis essays, which is what we're going to be doing today and tomorrow. It's literary response and analysis, and then your research papers. So to properly include quotations in your writing, it allows you to be credible, right? So this, remember we've been talking about ethos these last couple of days. Okay, so this gives you credibility and you provide enough information to explain your ideas and your claims. You protect yourself from plagiarism if you quote correctly, and you demonstrate the ability to actually do research. Okay, you demonstrate your ability to go out there and look for some actual information from outside sources. Okay, please include quotes when you are providing examples and evidence, which you should always do in English and in your daily life, and do not include when you are writing your thesis statement and when you are writing your topic sentences. So they shouldn't be in your first paragraph, and they should definitely not be at the beginning of your paragraphs. And you should never put a quotation just by itself. You should never begin a sentence with a quotation, and you should always explain your quote after you cite it. Never just put in a quote just on its own, because to me that looks like you're just trying to add some fluff, some extra stuff just to take up space. So you should try to use this acronym here. So ICE, it stands for introduce, cite, and explain. So we're going to start with introduce. So there are 4 different ways that you can properly and effectively introduce your quotations. You can introduce it using a complete sentence. You can introduce it using an explanatory phrase with only short quotes in your sentence and with part of the quote paraphrased, which means put into your own words. So to demonstrate how to do this, I'm going to be using Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Okay? So here we go. So this is the quote I'm going to be using. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And you don't have to take notes on this part. These are just examples, but make sure you understand. Okay, so if you're going to introduce your quote using a complete sentence, You must introduce your quote with a sentence that is actually describing the quotation or provides information about it. And make sure you punctuate it with a colon before you insert your quote, like this. So in his I Have a Dream speech, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream, and then the colon, right? And then you put your quotation, you put your quote. So there's the sentence part of it, right? And then you have your colon, and then you have the rest of your quotation, which is always in quotation marks. Okay, this is how you avoid plagiarism. If you're going to introduce it with an explanatory phrase, you want to begin your sentence with a phrase that introduces the quote, and then make sure you punctuate with a comma. So in his famous I Have a Dream speech, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, right? And then you have your, so that's your explanatory phrase, and then you have your comma, and then you have the rest of your quotation, or your quote, with quotation marks. Okay, and then if you're going to only use short quotes in your sentence, make sure you include short quotes, and you should just stick to a few words, but you should still have quotation marks so you can punctuate the sentence as you normally would. So my example would be Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. dreamed of a day when his children would only be judged by the content of their character. So I only took this little part from the entire quotation. Okay? And so there is a thing that I'm actually quoting, and you can tell because I put quotation marks. Okay? And then, whoops. Okay? Make sure you add your quotation marks and your period at the end of your sentence. Now, if you're introducing your quote just by paraphrasing or putting it in your own words, make sure that you finish the sentence with the actual quote. So my example would be Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. dreamed of a day when his 4 children would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. So this is my paraphrase. I put part of this quote into my own words, okay? And then I added the actual quote in quotation marks, okay? So you can also introduce a quote by saying, according to the author, right? And you would put the author's name here, and then you would put your quote here. And then you can also say, according to whatever source it is, and you can paraphrase it, and then you can put your quotation there. Yeah, you can do any of these. Okay, so another day we're going to do the C part of it, the cite part of it, but we're not going to really look into citing this time. I just want to make sure that when you're using quotes in your writing, that you're actually using them correctly. Okay, so I'm going to skip over to the explanation part. So here it is. So make sure you are explaining your quote. So after you introduce and cite your quote, you still need to explain it. So you're going to provide analysis that connects the quote to your main idea and your topic sentence. You're going to explain why it is important and relevant, and you're going to make sure that the quote supports your topic sentence or main idea. So you can just start the next sentence right after your quote by saying, this proves that, or this illustrates, or this shows that, or this highlights the difference between. Okay, so whichever one of these you'd like to use. So this is just going back to what we talked about in the beginning. But never, ever just leave a quote on its own, okay? A quote should help to drive your point home. It shouldn't just be a filler, okay? All right, so for today's assignment, and this has been posted, it's going to revolve around what we have been doing in terms of literary analysis. And if you don't have these, they are in Google Classroom. So we've been talking about themes that are in our readings from this week. They are in Puritans, right? They're in Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, and they are also in the Declaration of Independence, as well as Patrick Henry's Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech. I also want you to look at how they're actually being persuasive. So repetition, restatement, and parallelism. And then finally, any rhetorical devices such as ethos, logos, pathos, or any of the other rhetorical devices such as cataplexes, allusions, similes, metaphors, etc., etc. So in the next video, I'm going to explain how to do the essay.